morning. I think we're all finally here. Welcome to the 2015 ELTDP Symposium, Keeping It Going, Sustaining Professional Growth. My name is Shannon Smith, Chair of the Symposium Organizing Committee and British Council ELTDP Project Manager for Central Sarawak. On behalf of all of the members of the Symposium Organizing Committee, I'd like to wish you a very enjoyable and enriching next 3 days. I'd like to express a sincere thanks to the Symposium Organizing Committee for their tremendous efforts to make this symposium a reality today. The journey that it took us all to get here today was often very exciting, and I cannot tell a lie, sometimes very challenging. But looking out into the audience today at all of the expectant and enthusiastic faces, particularly of our presenting teachers who come from very far away in some cases, it's all been very worth it. And I'm sure the entire Symposium Organizing Committee would agree that it's all been extremely rewarding, and every bit of effort that we put into this is very, very worth it at this moment. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge the members of the Symposium Organizing Committee, and I'd like you to just stand up, please, and show yourselves. Thank you. Where are you? Thank you. During the event, these committee members will be happy to assist you and answer your questions. Helping us in this task over the next 3 days are 25 teacher trainees from Batu Lintang Training College. And if they are here as well, they can stand up. They might be out in the corridors. Okay, thank you, Batu Lintang. We're all very easy to recognize. We all have these brightly colored sashes. I'd also like to acknowledge the very hard work of several other individuals. Firstly, the hard work and commitment of the presenting teachers here today and their mentors. Without your enthusiasm, dedication, and planning, we wouldn't be here today. A big thank you from all of us. Also, a very special thank you to Datin Evelyn Ritikos, Principal Assistant Director of JPN Sarawak, for all of her help with planning and flight bookings. Also from our Kuching office, Jennifer Wong and Yik Mi Hung, who've helped us with room bookings and printing of a variety of things for the symposium. Also in Kuala Lumpur, our office there, Goko Kwa, who has been very instrumental in getting us all invitation letters and doing a variety of work behind the scenes. Thank you to all of you. You've done an amazing amount of work for this. A little bit of housekeeping items today. Please, throughout the symposium, follow the colorful program that was provided to you at registration, and also the program leaflet. In order to accommodate last-minute requests, and as well as an unexpected late arrival of one of our keynote speakers, we've had to make some changes in the original program outline in your booklet. So please refer to these two documents throughout the symposium, as they have the most current information. The colorful program schedule tells you when and where the sessions are happening. And the program leaflet tells you about the other events going on during the symposium that are separate from the workshops. Any changes to these documents will be announced during our housekeeping sessions tomorrow and on Friday. The booklet provided in your goodie bags is a wonderful thing. It provides you with very nice descriptions of all of our sessions today, tomorrow, and Friday. There's a map in the back of the booklet which shows you the location of our session workshop rooms. Just so you're aware, across from these ballrooms, 1, 2, and 3, we have session rooms, Enseng, Kenyaleng, and Mendu, straight across the corridor. And upstairs we have rooms Rejawali, Salasa, and Tabara on the first floor. Some notes for our presenting teachers, and Berjaya, excuse me. Yes, thank you. We also have Berjaya, which is directly down this corridor and up. Just some other housekeeping items for visitors from the Ministry of Education, PPDs, and schools today. Please make sure that you sign some registers that are kept on the first floor at registration to document your attendance at this event. Also, presenting teachers, please make sure when you attend sessions during the symposium to get your booklets stamped, indicating that you've attended those sessions. Also, we'll be registering for tomorrow's workshops today. We'll also be registering for Friday's workshops today. So please at some point stop by our first floor registration area and sign up for our Thursday and Friday sessions. Someone will be there during the breaks, during lunch, and also after our day today from 5 to 7 before our conference dinner. On that note, I'd like to say for our conference dinner, which proves to be a very exciting event, we'd appreciate if you can be seated by 7 o'clock this evening. It will take place here in the ballroom, and we have a fine cultural show at that time. So it's important that everybody is seated at that time. Finally, today, I'd like to acknowledge some special guests. We have many special guests at the symposium, but 4 have traveled from overseas to join us today. Dr. Angi Malderez, Mr. Jamie Keddy, and Mr. Jim Scribner, who is mid-air somewhere, flying to us. We'll all be delivering keynote addresses, as well as facilitating workshops during the symposium. Thank you all very much for coming and sharing your experience and knowledge with us during this event. Also present from the UK is Dr. Newman Burdett of NIFR, the National Foundation for Education Research. Dr. Burdett is back in the back of the room, so you know who he is. He's hoping to speak with some of you as part of our project's ongoing monitoring and evaluation process. Another special guest we have with us today is the British Council Malaysia Country Director, Mr. Gavin Anderson. And at this point, I'd like to hand over to him to say a few words. Again, welcome. Thank you.
Welcome to all of you to this symposium. For some of you, welcome back to the second of these symposiums, celebrating everything that's being achieved still on what we call the English Language Teacher Development Project, what's known more generally in the ministry as the Native Speaker Teacher Project. I've been seeing in the press and online, on Twitter, lots of the photos, the selfies, the sort of the definitions that teachers have been coming up with as to what it means. I've been seeing comments from teachers about their expectations and preparations for this symposium. I was watching some people checking in yesterday, catching up with colleagues, seeing friends, And here today, this morning, over breakfast, and here in this room, there is a huge buzz, there is a huge excitement around this symposium. And I think that's absolutely right. We have over 350 participants, including 120 project teachers from Sabah, from Sarawak, from Labuan. We have 60 British Council mentors, so half of our mentors here today, 45 district officers, 30 Guru Besar, the 25 teacher trainers from Batilintan I just mentioned. We have our international keynote speakers. We have guests from the ministry, officials from Putrajaya, as well as from Sarawak, Sabah, and Labuan. We have journalists, photographers, film crew even. People have taken planes, they've taken boats, they've taken cars to come to this event. Some have come from as far away as Kapit and Keningau, from Kuala Lumpur, from Kota Kinabalu, and of course, from Kuching. And it's going to be a fantastic symposium with great keynote speakers, with some fantastic sharing of practice through the workshops. I know you've just said a thank you to them, but can you join me in saying thank you again to the symposium organisers for doing such an amazing job. The British Council celebrated its 80th birthday last year, and we've been doing the same thing for 80 years. The purpose of the British Council is about building cultural, educational and scientific exchange between the United Kingdom and other countries, and underpinning all of that exchange through supporting the use of the English language. So supporting the broader learning and teaching of English has always been central to what the British Council is about. Wherever we are, whichever country we operate in, we aim, and we have been for 80 years, supporting the learning and teaching of English. Sometimes we do that in small ways, here and there. But sometimes, in some places, we are privileged to be part of something really big and really special. Here in Malaysia right now is one of those times. There is something really quite impressive going on in the world of English language teaching in Malaysia. And I think we as an organisation are hugely privileged to be part of that. I am hugely proud of the 120 project mentors working on ELTDP and all of the work that they're doing across the 3 states here. This project, ELTDP, is known about, is talked about in British Council offices around the world. But often, my colleagues, my 120 mentors working here, don't know about that, don't hear about that, because they don't sit in the British Council office. They work with you in schools on a day-to-day basis. But they need to hear from me, and in a moment from all of you, that they are hugely respected for the work that they do. They're making a huge contribution. And our whole organisation is massively proud of all of the work that they are doing. And I'm saying they because I now want everybody else to join me in a huge round of applause for all of the British Council mentors working on this work. And there's a reason why I said we're part of something big and important here in Malaysia. The ministry, I mean, it's quite fashionable in Malaysia to be negative about the state of English language learning. But I think there are many reasons to be proud. The ministry has a lot of, can I pause a minute and say hello? Has a lot of initiatives going on in the world of English language learning. One of the most important ones is this project. This project was put together, was designed on the principle, on the belief, that central to making a sustainable change in English language learning is the role of the teacher, is the role of continuing professional development of the teacher, is the teacher developing approaches and practices that work for them, because we're all different as teachers, that work in their classrooms, in their context, that engage with students, with head teachers, with wider community, that those teachers then reflect on their practice and learn and develop and grow as teachers. That's what those principles, those beliefs is what this project was founded on. And indeed, this project is delivering the evidence to show that that works. That this approach is being enormously productive in supporting learning outcomes children in your schools. You know all of this. You see this happening in your schools today. So you, the teachers that are taking part in this project, are central to all of this. The whole theme is making sure in the future that we sustain the work that's been done over the nearly 5 years of this project since it first started into the future. And I want to end by asking for the biggest, most enthusiastic round of applause for all of you, the teachers on the ELTDP project, for your perseverance, your commitment, your passion. Long may it continue. Have a fantastic conference, everybody. Do you want to go ahead and... So if I may, I'd like to invite Tuan Haja Serena, Director of JPN Sarawak, to come and address us all. Thank you very much.
I think I have to get used to this. Assalamualaikum, salam sejahtera, salam satu Malaysia, and a very good morning. First of all, thank you for having me here today. Okay, let's get the salutation first. First thing first. Mr. Galvin Anderson, if I don't pronounce the name properly, please forgive me. British Council Country Director, Miss Katie Butler, Director of English Language Services, Mr. Keith O'Harry. How do you pronounce that?
Okay.
Okay, that's okay, right? It's just like you pronounce it our Malaysian name, you know. British Council Head of English in Education System, Miss Tricia Tolby, British Council ELTDP Director. I had the privilege to meet her a few months ago over coffee. That was good. And our distinguished keynote speakers, my Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Sarawak officers, head teachers, ladies and gentlemen. Before I come into the text, I would like to say thank you to the British Council and the English system, most probably in Sarawak. I was the last batch of students having the full English medium. That was back in 1974. Don't calculate my age. 1974, I was in my upper sixth. And then my first year of university in University of Malaya, that is the first time we Sarawakian, our first encounter to full Bahasa Malaysia. We were shocked. So, whatever English you'll be hearing from me today is the good work or not so good work of the British system in Sarawak. Okay, here goes. I like this one. They wrote this for me. Mahatma Gandhi once said, you may never know what result come out of your action, but if you do nothing, there will be no result. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're so brave enough to start something. And here we are today. And I just heard about 120 British mentors. Are they here today? Some of you, maybe? Yeah. Would you hand up, please? Yeah. I'm still a school teacher. Okay. very much for being here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Because you have made a lot of difference to the English teacher's life. Yeah? The ELTD was started with a simple plan for change in mind. That is to mentor Malaysian teachers and help them to develop their own reflective practices. That is excellent. The end goal was to empower them, take charge of their own professional development. When the ELTD was first introduced in East Malaysia 4 years ago in 2011, we definitely did not know what the result would be like. We just knew that we had to provide the stepping stone for our teachers to explore and reflect, and to a certain extent, we hope that things would work themselves out initially. But when the ELTDP, what ELTDP has done over the past 4 years has been more than what we thought possible. To say that it has made a difference would be an understatement. The change that we have seen goes beyond professional development. Give it a big round of applause. I think we deserve a big one. Yeah! Wake up. I know it's still early. Yeah, the problem is about Malaysian hotel. They have such a good breakfast. You wake up, you have breakfast, and you fall asleep. So wake up. Okay. Now it's getting more exciting. It's not just teaching styles that have changed, but people who have changed, and communities and life have changed as a result. The second phase of the ELTDP is now focused on sustaining that professional growth. Growth, be it personal or professional, comes from learning. And we just had a small discussion in the lobby. I know ELTDP going to end September. We'll try our best to make sure it will stay after September. Not a promise, but we try. We'll try. Because I'm going to have another meeting after this with the Yayasan Sarawak. Let's see how we can persuade them. Yeah? All right, come back. The problem with teachers, they always go like that again. All right. The Symposium is a wonderful platform for you to share ideas and knowledge with and learn from your peers. The growth will come from new ideas that you will learn about, and you also will have new friends whom you will meet, and from that new confidence in being able to share your ideas at this international symposium. Remember, knowledge, I don't have to tell you this, but just to remind you, knowledge is power, and with knowledge comes responsibility. It is then your responsibility to sustain this growth. Don't just keep all your file in the piggy bag and forget about it. When you go back, spread the good news. Yeah? And whatever you have picked and learned from this symposium. So when you go back to your school, don't be afraid to try out the things that you have learned and to keep in contact with the friends that you had made here today over 3 days. Most importantly, share what you have learned here with your colleagues and your friends in your schools. As my parting words, I would like to remind all, please remember that change will always be here. That change will continue. Please, there will be a need for us to continue reflecting, learning, and sharing to keep up with times and to continue growing, not sideways up here. That reminds me for my own subject matter. It seems that I've been growing in the wrong places since I take over the job, too many lunches, dinners. That's beside the point, but, Let's continue to grow professionally. Let us all work together over these 3 days to celebrate and share our achievements and ensure that we sustain our professional growth. Having said that, don't forget to enjoy our Sarawak hospitality in between. Yeah? So, with that, on behalf of State Education Department of Sarawak, I would like to welcome you all to Kuching, to Sarawak, and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tuan Haja Sirina, for your kind opening. I'd just like to remind everyone of the fantastic Twitter campaign that occurred before this symposium event. We sought teachers' and mentors' perceptions and other stakeholders of our project as well. Their own perceptions about what they feel it is in our title, Keeping It Going, Sustaining Professional Growth. And there have been some fantastic and wonderful ideas that we'd just like to review with you at this time. At this time, I'd like to introduce our opening keynote speaker, and I'm very excited to do so. In referring to her and talking about her with the mentors that I work with in my zone, I often refer to her as the mentor of mentors. She's an honorary senior fellow of the University of Leeds and also an independent education consultant, primarily working in the areas of supporting teacher, learning, and mentoring. She has worked for more than 3 decades with initial preparation and in-service teacher support programs. I'm very, very pleased to have with us today and to introduce to you Dr. Angi Malderez.
Thank you, Helen. If I stand here, can you all see me all right? No? Oh, well, okay, so I might go up on the stage then. First of all, let me say how delighted I am to be here, to be back in Malaysia, for which I thank the British Council and Sharon and Tom in particular. It's wonderful to meet old friends and make new ones, I hope. When I heard the title of the symposium, it seemed to me that, like our distinguished guest, that if you were going to sustain professional growth, the it would be learning, keeping learning going. And that's how I developed the title for this talk, keeping it going. And by it, I was thinking in my head, learning. And then we think a bit more about what teacher learning is, why we should do it, why we might want to do it, and then how we would do it. And then I saw, Sharon sent me the link to your lovely Twitter campaign. And I thought, you said it all. Within your ideas of what it is, you have the what, you have the how, and you have the why, I think. So I sort of changed my talk to include the things you were saying, to try to show you how I think we're all thinking the same. I hope I can offer you something of practical use as well. But it was proof to me that get teachers talking together and you do get the whole picture, I think. Anyway, so I'm going to talk a bit about it, learning, the what. Then we'll talk a bit about how, and in the how do you do that learning, I will include the idea of mentoring and say a bit about mentoring. Mentoring is my passion, by the way. Okay. And then I will give you 2 ideas about why. One of them personal, for your personal satisfaction, and one professional. This is for you. We know why, it's for the students, but for you. And then I will look a little bit about outcomes and goals. So that's my structure. Please, if at any time I lose you or you feel lost, please do feel free to put up a hand or make a frowny face at me if you can catch my eye, and I'll try and say it again. I'm a little jet-lagged, so I may, talk too quickly or get lost in my ideas, perhaps. Okay, so, in your its, on your Twitter campaign, many of you wrote learning. One of you said, learning new things. Somebody else said, knowing there's always more to learn. You talked about it being an endless journey. And that might feel, endless. But I'm going to suggest, no, we are so lucky. That's what makes teaching such a wonderful profession, because there is always more to learn. You talked about building skills, expanding minds, inspiring and being inspired, discovering. All of these were ideas that for me were all about you, us. We understand that to sustain professional growth, we need to keep learning. Okay. This was my original one now. My it was to do with teacher learning. If you are going to keep your professional growth going, then you need to keep the learning. But there are different learning processes according to the type of knowledge that you are learning. Now, what do I mean? Teachers, I think, need to know 3 types of knowledge. You need to know about things in your head. You need to know about the curriculum. You need to know about your pupils. You need to know about options for activities that you could do. You need to know about your textbook. You need to know a lot about. You need to have knowledge about things. That's one kind of knowledge. There's another, which I call the head. There's another kind of knowledge, which is with your hand. You need to know how. You need to know how to do things in classrooms. How to use the board, how to group your students, how to work with student error, how to interact, how to give instructions, how to monitor, how to tell a story. There are skills you need to learn. That's what I call hand. But that's not enough. There's a third kind of knowledge, which is what I call the heart kind of knowledge. You need to know to do the right thing to support the learning of your pupils at a particular moment. And that's a feeling. I used to watch teachers, really good teachers, teach. And I might have seen a plan, and then they didn't do the plan. And I'd say, how did you know to do that? Know to. How did you know to do that? And they'd say things like, well, I don't know, it just felt right. So I've been trying to work out for years, how do you help people get that it just feels right feeling, if you see what I mean. Okay. We'll come back to how you help people get this to come to get these knowledges. And not only that, these different types of knowledge need to get integrated into a person, because it's no good if I don't use what I know about, or if I don't use what I know how to do at the right moment for my students, is it? So they need to be integrated into a personal, practical knowledge. Are you with me so far? Okay. Okay. So, know about and know how. Now, that kind of knowledge can be learnt away from school. I can come to know about something, assuming I know I need to know, which is a big assumption. I can come to know about something by reading or by being told. Relatively easy. I can learn how to do things by being trained, by seeing a model, by practicing, time and again. But the all-important knowing to do the right thing at the right moment to support learning, that can only be learnt via experiences in schools and classrooms. And the integrated knowledge, so that things pop out in the classroom at the right time, that's only in the process of planning and teaching and reviewing and learning and reflecting on actual teaching experiences that I come to get it all together. If I'm in a classroom, example, I'm in a classroom and the boys at the back are fighting, I have to know intuitively to do the right thing. It has to pop out in action. I cannot stand there and go, oh, those boys are fighting. Now then, what did I learn in my training about behaviour management? You can't do that. So to get it integrated so that it all comes right. Developing your intuitive feeling, your knowing to do the right thing, developing your own integrated personal practical knowledge is why we need mentors. Okay? At least until we have learnt the skills of engaging in informed reflection. At least until we have learnt how to learn for ourselves. Okay? So, a word about mentors. Oh, I'm on to the hows now. That was the what, very quickly. Now I'm on to the hows. Okay. Now, professional growth, your professional growth, is supported by everything that this wonderful project offers you. The mentors, the symposia, the opportunities to share ideas. That's what's happening now. And it's mentors. What is a mentor? Well, there are many ways of defining what a mentor is, but the one I'm going to use with you today, and I must say as well, there are people called mentors who are, in my opinion, not mentors, but that's another issue. A school-based mentor is someone who is both willing and able to undertake each of 5 roles with respect to another teacher's learning. And to talk about those 5 roles, to illustrate those 5 roles, I want to tell you a story. Wait a minute, I have to go and get my visual aids. This is a story in which all 5 roles are exemplified, okay? So afterwards, when I tell you about the roles, I'm going to ask you to match it with things that happen in this story. Okay, so it's a story about Mummy Mouse. And Mummy Mouse was a very proud mother. She had made her babies and she loved her babies. And I don't know if you know, but baby mice, when they're born, are born with their eyes closed. Okay? So she left them in the nest for a while until they were beginning to open their eyes. And she thought to herself, now is the time to take them into the big wide world. And the nest was on a farm in England. And so she said to her babies, she said, okay, darlings, I want you to come with me. And one little mouse came out of the nest, bit small, sorry. And then another little mouse came out of the nest. And the last little mouse said, oh, no, Mummy, I don't want to go. And Mummy Mouse said, it's all right, darling. I'll be with you. Come on, then. So the last little mouse came out of the nest. And they scampered out into the field. And it was a lovely spring day. By lovely spring day in England, we mean there is a bit of sun for once. And they were playing in the field. And all of a sudden, the little mice sort of came back close to Mummy, because along came Mr. Squirrel. Mr. Squirrel with his big bushy tail. Mummy Mouse said to the babies, no, darlings, this is all right. Come and let me introduce you. This is Mr. Squirrel. Mr. Squirrel, these are my babies. Mr. Squirrel nodded to the babies and hopped on. And after he left, Mummy Mouse said to the babies, she said, now, darlings, Mr. Squirrel is a useful person to know. Because if you're ever hungry, you go to where he's been and you'll find nuts. So the babies said, oh, okay. And they played on. Until over them all, there came another shadow. And looking up, Mummy Mouse saw, yes, it was a cat. It was Tom, the farm cat. And she looked up and she could see in Tom's eyes, it was looking at her babies, and she could see in its eyes it was thinking dinner. And she thought, no, not my babies. And she ran between her babies and Tom, and she puffed herself up nice and big, and she looked up at Tom and she barked. Just like a dog. Woof, woof. And Tom, hearing this very strange noise, but frightening noise, turned tail and ran. Whew. And Mummy Mouse came back and she said to her babies, now then, darlings, what did you notice about that animal? Was it the same or different from Mr. Squirrel? And the mice said, well, that animal was on all four legs and didn't have such a bushy tail and had whiskers. And Mummy Mouse said, yes, that's right. And what else did you notice? And the baby said, well, you were very strange, Mummy. You made a very strange noise and you puffed yourself up all very big. And Mummy Mouse said, yes. Now then, let's think a bit about that. What do you think you've learned? And one little baby said, well, sometimes it's good to be brave and speak out. And Mummy Mouse said, yes, that's a good one. And another little baby said, and we should be a bit frightened of cats. And Mummy Mouse said, yes, I think that's wise. Until you're bigger and braver, perhaps be a bit fun. And the last little mouse said, okay, well now I understand why it's important to learn a foreign language. Into the metaphorical meanings of that too deeply. I like it as a joke, but I also like it as a story which carries the 5 mental roles. Let's see if you identify them. The first role is being a model. Not modelling how to do it right, because we know there's no one right way of teaching. That's sad, because when you start learning to be a teacher, you believe there is, don't you? And you think somebody's just not telling you it. But gradually, as time goes on, we understand that we have the responsibility of creating our own right way, the way that is most appropriate for us and for our pupils in our context. So it's being a model, not of how to be as a teacher, of how to be a professional. Where in the story was Mummy Mouse a model? Anybody? Have a little buzz with the person next to you, not only being brave now. That's where Mummy Mouse was being a model. When she was being brave and speaking out. Dare to change, one of you said in your Twitter campaign. It is about being brave, about daring. Okay. In the model one there, I said making it visible to the mentee. Being brave, daring to change, learning from your own experience, goes on inside your head. And it's not always easy to make this visible. So that's why I put that up there. Okay, second mental role is being a acculturator. Helping the mentee get used to or join as a full member the communities that they are joining. What are the communities that we as English teachers belong to? You belong to the school community. You belong to teachers in Sarawak community, if you like. You belong to the worldwide English teaching community. So there are a number of different communities that we can be even fuller members of, if you see what I mean. Okay, so in the story, when was Mummy Mouse an acculturator? Say again? Introducing Mr. Squirrel, yeah, sort of, that's part of it. Yeah, I think that's a better example for the next one, actually. But we haven't got there. I think the whole story is Mummy Mouse being an acculturator, bringing the babies into the field, you know, introducing them to people, getting them used to the environment. So the whole story is Mummy Mouse being an acculturator, I think. Okay, Mr. Squirrel is a bit like number 3, the sponsor. Don't worry, mentors, it doesn't mean you've got to give everybody money. It's not that kind of of your mentee. So, including knowledge, including connections. Maybe you have a good connection with the head teacher who has some money, who can buy you some cards so you can make some flashcards. So you use it to help your mentee. You use your connection in the service of your mentee. And that was a bit like Mr. Squirrel, I think. It was introducing Mr. Squirrel to the babies, because that was a relationship you had which was useful, so you pass it on. Does that make sense? I think. Okay. A support role. That's psychological support. Being a shoulder to cry on. And I'm not just talking metaphorically. In data, we have a big research project we did. One of the biggest characteristics of the experience of learning as a teacher was how emotional it is. Really an emotional experience. And I'm sure you all remember those first days of trying to teach and the emotionality of it. You've got to be a mentor as a safe shoulder to cry on. Right. And finally, educator. And what do I mean here? This is, oh no, Mummy Mouse, support. When was she a support? She was a support when the little baby one didn't want to go out of the nest. And Mummy Mouse said, "That's all right, darling, I'll be with you." So she played the support role then. Okay. And then the educator, which for me is one main thing, principally, and there is an additional one it could be, which is scaffolding the learning of the skills of noticing. We'll work more on this, those of you who want to come to the workshop, and of learning from your own and others' experience. So somebody wrote on the Twitter account, examine and reflect. So it's to do with the skills of examining and reflecting, if you like. And it may be responding to a range of emerging needs. When was Mummy Mouse an educator in the story? Exactly. At the end, when she was asking her babies to tell her what they noticed, to think about that, and to say what they felt they'd taken from that experience. Yeah. Okay, so a mentor has 5 roles. Why am I telling you this? What's this got to do with sustaining professional growth? You have mentors now who work with you in these kinds of ways and support you in doing that. If you're going to go on doing it, you need to understand what you need in order to manage your own learning, I think. Okay. Yes, this is more to do with who can and who cannot mentor. One thing we do know is that mentors learn. The research shows us, proves, that mentors learn. Less easy to prove that mentees learn, partly because it's more complex to do the research, okay? We know that mentors learn. So one way to continue your own growth is to think about being and becoming a mentor figure, not only for yourself, but for others in your schools. Okay. Who cannot mentor? And you are ideally placed to be a mentor. It's a peer. You need some mentor preparation, ideally. And you need to be a full member of the communities that your mentee is joining. A line manager is no good, an assessor is no good, someone who reports on the mentee is no good. We have some worrying research coming out of England where we've had mentoring within the system for a number of years, in that people called mentors seems to show have been what we call judgmentors, not mentors. And unfortunately, that has impeded learning rather than supported. So, it does need a bit of thought, all of that. So if you think to yourself, yeah, that would be fun. I've enjoyed this process as a recipient of mentoring. I'd like to share that with others. What do? You make your own learning process visible in your model role. You might give advice about how and when to carry out school requirements in your acculturator role. You might encourage and do things for the mentee in your support role. But in your educator role, you need to create conditions for learning to happen. We'll think a bit more about those in a minute. You need to guide post-lesson discussions in ways that your mentee makes their own judgments. And you need to guide those discussions so that the mentees can develop their noticing skills. Reflection begins with reviewing, seeing again. You can't see again if you didn't see the first time. And you might think, well, I've got eyes and ears, I can see, I can hear, but actually it's more complex than that. Again, that's something we might look at in the workshop. What mentors don't do is give advice about how to teach. And what they don't do is observe and give feedback, in my view of mentoring. Feedback being usually judgments. Anyway, I said I'd say more. Mentors create conditions for teacher learning. What conditions do you need to create for yourself if you are going to sustain professional growth? After this project, hopefully when your learnacy has been achieved. Do you like that English word, learnacy? Can you work out what it means? We had literacy, then we had numeracy, literacy, ability to read and write, numeracy, ability to work with numbers, learnacy, ability to learn. Yeah, great, isn't it? I like it very much. And learnacy is the result, should be the result that you have as a result of being mentored, being part of this project. So after the project, when teacher learnacy is achieved, you know how to manage your own learning. You know how to engage in informed reflection. You know how to improve your noticing skills. You know how to do this kind of thinking, this kind of work. Okay. All you need are experiences of teaching. Okay. You have that every day, not a problem. Access to new ideas, the project, without Symposium, where do you get access to new ideas from? Anybody? Colleagues? Internet? Books? Reading? Okay. And colleagues? Okay. You need the willingness and the abilities to learn from your own and others' experiences, and you need space and time to do so. You need a bit of space and a bit of time. One idea to give you space and time, access to other ideas, as one Twitter selfie said, learn together, maybe to start a peer support group. Get a group of colleagues as a way to create the conditions you need when your mentor has moved on. It provides space and support, it can give you access to new ideas, and it gives you a bit of motivation and further practice at learning, if you like. Peer support group, again, I can talk more about this in the workshop if you want, but it's just a group of people who, teachers, colleagues, who agree to meet together regularly to talk about teaching, essentially. On the Twitter campaign, these were your how-its, I think. You talked about sharing and communication. A peer support group can help you with that. Interaction and communication. There's examine and reflect. Plans and adjustments, changing together. So you're keeping it going. Some of your its were, it seemed to me, connected to the idea of how. Why? 3 main reasons, I think. I've lost the name of our esteemed guest. I'm sorry, was that Serena, thank you. Was saying that change is a constant. Change continues. There are 3 main reasons. There will always be changes, and teachers, perhaps more than many other professions, and because it's so important to people, to states, we are constantly receiving changes to implement, if you like. So, learning will be needed, if only because things will change. Learning is needed so that we can help more of our pupils learn more of the time and achieve more successful outcomes. And learning is needed because, and here's the really good news, it makes us happier. And I know you know the truth of that. You wouldn't be here otherwise. It does. Here are 2 ideas for why it makes us happier. These are theories, if you like, but they are what I call practical theories. The ones that I can make use of in my teaching. At least one of them is. Okay. This is a graph to represent the results of the work of a sociologist called Csikszentmihalyi, Hungarian, Csikszentmihalyi. And he was not a teacher. He was looking at human well-being. And he found that he found that people in society with the greatest sense what you're doing that you don't notice time passing. Okay? And he further discovered that these moments of flow occurred when people gave them, this is two axes, gave themselves a challenge, but just about had the skills to meet that challenge. That's learning, isn't it? Seems to me it is. So, if the challenge is just stretching enough for you and you can just about doing it, you find yourself in flow. So if you are learning, you have lots of flow. If you have lots of flow, you're a happy person. You're a contented person. On the other hand, if the challenge is too high and your skills are low, you get anxious. Or, if the challenge is high, no, challenge is low but your skills are high, you get bored. Isn't that useful for teachers? When I notice my people looking bored, is the challenge too high? Or are their skills too high? Is the challenge not high enough? If I think my students are looking anxious or seem anxious, am I pushing them too hard? Do I need to give them a stepping stone? I find that useful when I'm reflecting on episodes of teaching. But now I'm telling you this just to say, if you keep it going, if you keep the learning going, you will be more content people. And teaching is an endless journey, learning, teaching, as you said. So we are so privileged to be in this profession which allows us to be content people. I hear you thinking, baby. I know people in my staff room who are not content people. Yes. Huberman did a study about lives of teachers, and he found that teachers in mid-career, there are three broad scenarios, three broad groups that we can find ourselves in. We might end up with burnout. We've tried so hard early in our careers to be perfect because we still believe there is a perfect and that somehow somebody knows it and they're not letting us in on the secret. We tried that, so we burn out. There are those that develop cynicism. No good changing, they're only going to give us more changes next year, so I'm going to bother. Or, there are those that are content, and Huberman calls it tinkering. Tinkering. Making those small changes, plans and adjustments, as one of you wrote. Those small adjustments, fine-tuning, like you would tinker with a car or a machine. The teachers who just tinkered, made plans, made little adjustments, tried this, tried that, just kept tinkering as a result of learnacy and the ability to engage in informed, reflective practice, they were content. I hope you will be content teachers as well as content people. Okay. Your why is, you talked about intrinsic motivation. You talked about keeping the passion alive. looking forward, discovering what's right for my students. Fun in learning. I'm not sure if that was for you or for your students that you wanted to provide. But learning is fun, if you like. It gives us flow. And afterwards we are content that we've had those moments. Every moment in a classroom is learning. It's exciting. Also, in your ITS, there were I began to realise I couldn't quite know how to categorise some of what you wrote. And I was thinking, were these outcomes of your learning, or were these goals for your learning? I'm not sure, but discovering what's right for my students, was that a goal, or was that an outcome? Inspiring and being inspired, was that a goal, or was that an outcome of the learning so far? Fun in learning, was that a goal, or was that an outcome? Patience and passion, wonderful words, there's hard for you. Patience and passion, was that a goal for your learning, or was that an outcome? And it's really important to set ourselves goals. More games in class, was that an outcome, or was that a goal of learning? Classroom creativity, again, was that a goal, or was that an outcome? So setting goals and recognising your own achievements is an important part of learning. So knowing what it is you want to learn, and then knowing when you've learnt it, saying, well done me. Right, see what I've done. Now, what am I going to do next? And carrying on. These are important parts of learning. You said it all on the Twitter account. You said it all. When you put it all together, you said it. But you can see in my analysing, I wasn't quite sure whether to put things in the what or the why or the how or the... And why wasn't I quite sure? Because I think I have to tell you another story to illustrate why I wasn't quite sure. This is, you may know this story. It's one from this part of the world, and it's the story about the 6 blind men and the elephant. No? Oh, some of you, yes? Okay, I'm going to say it again. Forgive me. So it's a story about 6 friends, and they were blind. And they were sitting in a coffee shop, talking. They met every week. And they were talking that day about animals. And one of them happened to mention an elephant. And another one said, elephant? Elephant? I don't know what elephant is. I haven't got a clear mental picture of an elephant. What's an elephant like? And then another one said, well, I don't know actually either. Until they realised that none of them really had a clear mental picture of what elephant was. And one of them said, I hear there's a circus in town, and I believe it's got elephants. Why don't we all agree we'll all go this week and see the elephant, and then when we meet next week, we'll know what elephant is. So they made an agreement that that's what they would do. And the first man went off to see the elephant, and he stretched out his hand, and he found the body of the animal. And he thought to himself, I see. elephant is like a wall. And then the second man went and he stretched out his hand and he found the trunk, the elephant's trunk. And the elephant's trunk, I think I've got a picture, yes. The elephant's trunk. And it was wobbling about and he thought to himself, oh, I see, it's like, elephant is like a snake, a big snake. And the third man came and he stretched out his hands and he found the tusks of the elephant. And he felt and he thought, oh, hard and pointed, a bit like a spear. Okay. Fourth man came, found the elephant's ear, and thought to himself, oh, like a mat or a fan or something. Fifth man came, found a leg, and he thought, oh, like a tree trunk, like a tree. And the sixth man found the elephant's tail, and he thought to himself, ah, like a rope. Like a rope. But they were all content, and they met again the next week. And they asked each other, did you go to see the elephant? Yes, I did. Did you? Yes, I did. Strange, though, said the first man. I didn't think elephant would be like a wall. A wall? Said the second man. Don't be silly. Nothing like a wall. It's like a snake. A snake? Said another one. Oh no, you're mad. Not like a snake at all. It's like a tree. Tree? Said another one. Don't like a spear. Spear? Anyway, you can imagine. And the sad thing is, they argued and argued and argued. Now, and they stopped being friends. Now, if they had just tried to understand the experience that each had had, because they all knew they were right, their experience had told them, they touched it, they knew they were right, they were convinced. But if they could have listened to each other, listened to the experience, and tried to put it together, they would all have had a much better picture of the elephant. Exactly that. Your Twitter account, there we are, pictures of the elephant. Your Twitter, keeping it going. I found difficult to categorize parts of it because I don't know your experience, and this was just in the head, just the words. But it was all there. It is about learning together. So, my final word to you, I don't know about timing, I seem to have started early. Am I all right? Okay, yes. My final word to you is keep learning together, because in learning together you will be able to get a better picture of the elephant. You will motivate yourselves, give yourselves the conditions you need to